Yeah, so Aloe was right here having a science experiment. If you can see, there's some dudes playing basketball over there. We're here by the playground. I got a new book. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. So this is a quote from the Los Angeles Times. What can a book written in the 1920s tell modern investors about their finances? A whole lot if it's Georges Clason's delightful set of parables that explain the basics of money. This is a great gift for a graduate or anyone who seems baffled by the world of finance, and a wonderful, refreshing read for even the most experienced investor. Los Angeles Times. Ahead of you stretches your future like a road leading into the distance. Along that road are ambitions you wish to accomplish, desires you wish to gratify. To bring your ambitions and desires to fulfillment, you must be successful with money. Use the financial principles made clear in the pages that follow. Let them guide you away from the stringency of a lean purse to that fuller, happier life a full purse makes possible. Like the law of gravity, these laws of money are universal and unchanging. May they prove to be for you, as they have proven to so many others, a sure key to a fat purse, larger bank balances, and gratifying financial progress. Here's some quotes about money. Money is the medium by which earthly success is measured. Money makes possible the enjoyment of the best the earth affords.
Dada,
Yes, love?
did you say spirit with me?
I don't want to touch that, I told you. Money is plentiful for those who understand the simple laws that govern its acquisition. Money is governed today by the same laws which controlled it when prosperous men thronged the streets of Babylon 6,000 years ago.
You're making a tree.
A drink? Okay, nice. A medicine? Some sort of a healing tea? So money is governed today by the same laws which controlled it when prosperous men thronged the streets of Babylon 6,000 years ago. Lo, money is plentiful for those who understand the simple rules of its acquisition. Number 1, start thy purse to fattening. 2, control thy expenditures. 3, make thy gold multiply. 4, guard thy treasures from loss. 5, make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. 6, ensure a future income. 7, increase thy ability to earn. The Richest Man in Babylon. So we're going to read the introduction. In the more than 90 years since The Richest Man in Babylon was first published, just about everything to do with personal finance has been transformed. This book came out 3 years before the Great Depression began. There was no government guarantee that money saved at a bank would be fully insured. The safety net of Social Security will not come into being for another 9 years. Medicare will not arrive for another 40. The first mutual fund was launched just 2 years before. The Richest Man in Babylon was published in 1926. Today there are roughly a bazillion mutual funds and exchange-traded funds you can invest in. It would be another 25 years until the curse that is modern-day credit card would be launched. Can you imagine the skepticism you would receive if you did a bit of time travel to the 1920s and tried to explain the miracle that is the ATM? A convenience that is so common today we don't even think of it as some sort of a technological wonder. Exactly how would you go about explaining that all your banking, bill paying, and investing can be done on a computer that is also a phone and happens to fit in your pocket? There sure wasn't an app for that a century ago. So why would I jump at the opportunity to reintroduce a book that by American standards is practically ancient? Because this book speaks to anyone who is eager to build a more financially secure life, and it is timeless. It is just as spot on today as it was generations ago. To be clear, there's one obviously dated notion, and it's right there in the title. Hey, I got more. You want some?
Can I play some?
No. It's for drinking, not to play.
I'm not playing.
To be clear, there's one obviously dated notion, and it's right there in the title. In fact, every character in the book is a man. That's reflective of the time when it was written. Women didn't handle the money or the money decisions. We've obviously come a long way on that front. That's not a reason to dismiss the heart of the book. Its clear message of how to build lasting wealth is not gender dependent. If you find the gender bias annoying, just recast all the characters in a way that enables you to read and absorb the wisdom. For these pages are all the key steps that will help you create wealth, grow your wealth, and live a truly rich life, despite what the financial world wants you to believe, needs you to believe. Success is not a function of the latest investment in financial fads or access to the reams of data at our fingertips. Yeah, let them be there. It's not gonna bug them, hello. Once they're done, hello. Let me see that bottle. You can't just leave trash at the playground, hello. Thank you. For in these pages are all the key steps that will help you create wealth, grow your wealth, and live a truly rich life. Despite what the fundamental world wants you to believe, needs you to believe, success is not a function of the latest investment in financial fads or access to the reams of data at our fingertips. If that were the case, millions of households wouldn't be weighed down by record levels of credit card debt, and there wouldn't be an endless stream of surveys telling us that most Americans are extremely anxious that they aren't saving enough for retirement. Clearly, the latest advice isn't sufficient or effective or sufficiently effective. That's where I think this book can help. Dig into The Richest Man in Babylon, and you will understand how just a handful of commitments can transform your financial life. The stories in this book were first presented as standalone brochures written by Georges Clason, the owner of a road atlas manufacturer. I think that may help explain the success of the book. Mr. Clason, the atlas publisher, knew that the best way to help people get where they want to go is to provide clear navigational direction. That's exactly what he has done with this book, laid out the financial rules of the road. After distilling financial principles into very clear, simple directions, his next genius move was to deliver that advice in the form of stories. We all love a good story, yet most of the time personal finance books are written as fact-based, do this, don't do that, directives, not as a story that we can relate to. The writers of the New Testament understood the power of teaching moral lessons in the form of stories, rather than a simple list of Schultz and shalt nots. Kudos to Mr. Clason for following that example and creating simple parables set in ancient times that are easy to understand and remember. Those stories really grabbed me when I first read this book more than 30 years ago. In fact, this is the first financial book I ever read, and to this day it remains my favorite. A brief personal history, the best-selling books, the award-winning cable television show, and my years of connection with millions of Americans looking for no-nonsense help managing their financial lives came only after a long detour following college. At the age of 29, I was earning $400 a month as a waitress. In today's dollars, that's still measly $1,300 or so a month. Let's just say I was not yet on my road to wealth. I eventually made my way into the financial services world, first working as a stockbroker and then running my own financial planning firm, before I started talking to and counseling a national audience. When I started my transition into the world of personal finance, I was greener than green. I learned the mechanics, laws, and regulations of money management in a broker training program, and then when I earned the Certified Financial Planner designation. But this book was not introduced to the most important financial principles of all. But this book was my introduction to the most important financial principles of them all, which have nothing to do with arcane tax laws, banking regulations, or high value 10 investment theory. It teaches you how to become a person who chooses actions that build wealth. Today there is no shortage of financial advice at your fingertips, be it online, in books, or through working with a financial advisor. Perhaps you don't need to be told yet again how important it is to save for retirement or not carry gobs of credit card debt. You've heard that plenty. Where you need some help is in motivating yourself to choose financial security, to finally have the resolve to follow through and take the steps to start building lasting wealth. There are no shortcuts, yet these steps will slowly but surely build your wealth. Of course, the steps can only work when you make the commitment to see them through. Having great intentions doesn't fund your retirement. Wanting and wishing do not create a large emergency cash fund. You choose financial success by your actions each and every day. Tucking some of your salary into a retirement account is a personal choice. Deciding that you will not load up on credit card purchases you can't buy off is a choice. And too often we convince ourselves that the choices necessary to build financial security are just too hard or too unpleasant. The Richest Man in Babylon presents the counter-argument. Making choices today that bring long-term security will bring instant liberation. You will be energized by knowing you are now making choices that give you control of your money, your life, and your future. The Richest Man in Babylon remains relevant today because it focuses on the timeless law that is our personal behavior that creates or destroys lasting wealth. The Richest Man in Babylon spoke to me in a way no other book or colleague ever did. Actually, Arcad spoke to me. You will soon get to know Arcad, the Richest Man in Babylon. He's waiting to show you the way to financial success. Like me, Arcad was not born into success, and like me, he suffered a great financial loss early in his life. We both made bad investments because we didn't know yet any better. He worked his way through the setback and devoted his life to understanding not how to get rich fast, but how to build wealth that lasts. Exactly what I was after. I am an unabashed cheerleader for the simplicity of the advice in this book. By removing the mystery and confusion that typically surrounds money, Mr. Clason makes financial security accessible to all. He seemed well aware that he would get some pushback on his easy-to-absorb lessons. In one passage, Arcad is speaking to men who want to know how he became so successful. He shares a very basic piece of advice and is met with some skepticism. Arcad tells him, deride not what I say, because of its simplicity, truth is always simple. And this person likes to write on his intro. That is exactly what today's financial service industry doesn't want you to know. It is an industry that needs you to feel so confused and overwhelmed that you will turn to it for help and pay plenty for that help. The truth is that if you master the simple lessons in this book, you will be in great shape. After that, feel free to further learn and explore investing strategies, but know that you can tune out a lot of the noise and create financial security solely by following Arcad's advice. Besides, simplicity is often sneaky smart. You've probably heard the phrase, pay yourself first. Mr. Clason is credited with coming up with that powerful rule for this book. Arcad and other characters repeatedly emphasize that you should make it your highest priority to always save at least 10% of your earnings. Whatever your income, high or low, always save at least 10%. It worked for Arcad. I found the road to wealth when I decided that a part of all I earned was mine to keep. That's priceless and timeless advice that works just as well whether you are saving coins in ancient Babylon or contributing to a 401k or IRA. With that commitment in place, Arcad then shares what I consider the secret sauce of financial security. Budget thy expenses that thou mayest have coins to pay for thy necessities, to pay for thy enjoyments, and to gratify thy worthwhile desires without spending more than 9/10 of thy earnings. When I recently reread the book, this passage jumped out at me. I have long spoken about the freedom and happiness that comes from living below one's means and with one's needs. The fact that Americans have more than $800 billion in credit card debt suggests Arcad and I still have some work to do. But our shared message is that this is not an exercise in denial. You can give yourself an occasional treat, but you give yourself lasting wealth when you grasp that power, and happiness comes when you manage to save a little and spend with your means. The book covers all the basic personal finance topics: savings, spending, the power of compound interest, and home buying. Get the full parable treatment here. Mr. Clason also drops nuggets along the way on how to navigate sticky personal relationships, one that rings so true for me. If you desire to help thy friend, do so in a way that will not bring thy friend's burden upon thyself. As I have counseled for years, a true act of generosity must be generous to both the recipient and the giver. Putting your finances at risk to help someone is not generous. Don't worry, Arcad is not some lifeless, rich killjoy. Mr. Clason takes care to create a portrait of a very full and fulfilled person. Arcad was famed for his great wealth. Also, he was famed for liberality. He was generous in his charities. He was generous with his family. He was liberal in his own expenses. But nevertheless, each year his wealth increased more rapidly than he spent it. Who wouldn't want to be just like Arcad? At a certain point, as you work your way through the book, you will likely be struck by some repetition. The characters change, but the advice doesn't. That's a function of this book, having begun life as a series of brochures that were distributed by banks and insurance companies. The repetition was a way to make sure anyone who was given a particular brochure would get Mr. Clason's A-list advice. My advice is to dig in, learn, be entertained, and hopefully be inspired. If you find yourself noticing some repetition, consider that a sign you absorb the lessons well. No need to keep reading if you don't want to. I hope you will emerge energized to take another shot at how you approach your relationship with money, focusing on the simple and true advice in these pages. I wish you success in creating the riches you want and that you deserve. Susie Orman. Susie Orman is the most recognized personal finance expert in the world, appreciated by millions worldwide for creating insightful wisdom on building true wealth via her 9 New York Times best-selling books, twice named by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Susie is the winner of 2 Emmy Awards and 8 Gracies and has been spoofed multiple times on SNL. Susie grew up on the south side of Chicago and was still making a mere $400 a month at 29 years of age. Susie currently hosts the popular Women in Money podcast. Alright, here's a foreword now. Our prosperity as a nation depends upon the personal financial prosperity of each of us as individuals. This book deals with the personal successes of each of us. Success means accomplishments as a result of our own efforts and abilities. Proper preparation is key to our success. Our acts can be no wiser than our thoughts. Our thinking can be no wiser than our understanding. This book of cures for lean purses has been termed a guide to financial understanding. That indeed it is its purpose, to offer those who are ambitious for financial success an insight which will aid them to acquire money, to keep money, and to make their surpluses earn more money. In the pages which follow, we are taken back to Babylon, the cradle in which was nurtured the basic principles of finance now recognized and used the world over. To new readers, the author is happy to extend the wish that its pages may contain for them the same inspiration for growing bank accounts, greater financial successes, and the solution of difficult personal financial problems so enthusiastically reported by readers from coast to coast. To the business executives who have distributed these tales in such generous quantities to friends, relatives, employees, and associates, the author takes this opportunity to express his gratitude. No endorsement could be higher than that of a practical man who appreciate his teachings because they themselves have worked up to important successes by applying the very principles it advocates. Babylon became the wealthiest city of the ancient world because its citizens were the richest people of their time. They appreciated the value of money. They practiced sound financial principles in acquiring money, keeping money, and making their money earn more money. They provided for themselves what we all desire, incomes for the future. That's a foreword by GSC. I don't know who that is, but doesn't say. But anyway, GSC, George as a Clason. So he wrote the foreword. Anyway, peace.